welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down some really powerful ideas from psychologist Jordan Peterson. We're tackling two of the biggest things in life, how to raise good kids and how to build a life that actually means something. It's a way of thinking that starts in the home and radiates out to you, the individual. And it all kicks off with one very blunt question.
Okay, just think about that for a second. How do you raise kids you actually like? It's not just about loving them. That's a given. This is about raising kids who are good to be around, who other people enjoy, who are, civilized. According to this perspective, that's a parent's #1 moral duty.
So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the parental blueprint, then see how that plays out in the art of discipline. From there, we'll zoom out and look at what it means for an individual to become formidable, tackle how the world we live in shapes that, and then wrap it all up with what it takes to live a life you won't end up regretting. All right, let's jump right in with that parental blueprint. The core idea here is fascinating. It suggests that a kid's healthy development doesn't come from just one perfect parenting style. No, it's about a balance, a kind of dance between two very different but equally vital parental roles. And you can see that contrast right here. On one side, you've got what's described as the maternal role, this all-encompassing, unconditional acceptance. And that's absolutely critical, right? Especially in early infancy when a baby can literally do no wrong. But then there's the paternal role. And that's about setting boundaries, encouraging them to aim for something. It's more goal-directed. So you can think of it like this. One role is the warm, safe harbor, and the other is the compass that encourages them to venture out. So that naturally leads us to the practical side of things, the art of discipline. I mean, it's one thing to talk about these abstract roles, but how do you actually put them into practice? How do you create a home that's peaceful instead of one that feels like a constant war zone? Well, this framework really boils down to two key principles. First, have the minimum number of rules necessary. Why? Because if you have a million rules, you'll be exhausted trying to enforce them. And worse, the argument goes, having a bunch of pointless rules just makes kids disrespect the important ones. So you have to pick your battles. And second, use the minimum necessary force. This one is huge. The amount of pushback needed to enforce a rule isn't the same for every kid. It has to be tailored to that child's individual temperament. A really perfect way to see this in action is the classic timeout on the steps. But this isn't just about punishment. It's a very specific technique that's designed to help a child learn to regain control when they're misbehaving. Now, pay close attention to the wording here. It isn't an arbitrary, go sit there for 5 minutes. It's, you're going to sit there until you've got control of yourself. See that? All the control is handed right back to the child. The goal is super clear. Pull yourself together and you can come back. They hold the key to ending their own punishment. And this exchange is just wild. After a few minutes, the question is asked, are you ready to have a good day? And the child's response is not yet. Wow. Think about that. That's a child being totally honest about his own emotional state. He's not being forced into some fake apology. He's actually learning to check in with himself and recognize when he's genuinely ready to be civil again. So, here's the ultimate lesson from that. Picture a tantrum as a moment when the child's mind is just completely hijacked by rage. So when that kid finally manages to calm himself down, that's a huge victory. His sense of self, his developing ego, just won a major battle. And the parent's job in that moment is to immediately reward that win with forgiveness and bring him back into the fold. You're reinforcing that amazing new skill of self-regulation. Okay, now we're going to pivot a little. We're moving from parenting to you, the individual. And this next idea is one of the most counterintuitive ones we'll talk about. It's the idea that there's virtue in becoming formidable, or, to use a more provocative word, in being dangerous. To really get this, we have to look at one word, meek. The argument is we've got the meaning all wrong. That famous line, the meek shall inherit the earth, it's not supposed to mean the weak will. The original idea is closer to this: those who have swords and know exactly how to use them, but choose to keep them sheathed. It's about having power, but having it under voluntary control. And that distinction is everything. Just being harmless isn't a virtue, it's just a lack of capacity. The argument is that a person who is merely weak is way more likely to become bitter and resentful when life throws its inevitable tragedies at them. To be truly good, you need strength. You need to be a formidable person, someone capable of danger, but who has that capacity under complete control. That's what gives you the strength to bear responsibility and navigate the world without getting crushed.
You see this theme all over the place in old stories, like Pinocchio. For him to become a real boy, he has to go down into the belly of the whale, the darkest abyss, to confront a monster and rescue his father. And that's a perfect metaphor for character development. You have to voluntarily face the difficult, the chaotic, the terrible stuff to find that strength inside yourself.
So if that's the goal for each of us as individuals, how does our society, and particularly our education system, help or hinder that process? This brings us to a pretty tough critique of modern schooling. Just listen to this quote. It's from an experienced educator talking to a parent, and it is absolutely chilling. It just lays bare this core conflict. You have a system that is often built on conformity and control, which is the exact opposite of what you need to foster free, autonomous people. And the advice? Yeah, get them in chains young, before they even know what real freedom feels like. And according to this historical view, this wasn't an accident. The modern American public school system was heavily modeled on the 19th century Prussian system. And what was that system explicitly designed to do? Produce obedient soldiers. Later on, U.S. industrialists adopted it to create a disciplined, compliant workforce for factories. So the point here isn't that the system is broken, it's that it's doing exactly what it was designed to do. Encourage obedience, not necessarily nurture individual vision. So, all of this, family, self, society, it all leads to this final, crucial question. What's the ultimate goal? Well, it's about confronting your own potential and living a life that is truly full. Think about this for a second. When you truly complete a task, when you pour everything into it, it's done. You don't feel the need to do it again. This quote applies that same logic to life itself. Maybe, just maybe, if you could completely exhaust your potential, live your life so fully that there's nothing left on the table, then that's enough. You can let go gracefully because you've truly lived. And you know what? Psychological research totally backs this up. When you ask older people about their biggest regrets, it's almost never about the mistakes they made, the things they did. The real torment comes from the things they didn't do, the chances they didn't take, the opportunities they passed up. These are the so-called sins of omission. It's the ghost of untapped potential that haunts us the most. And so that brings all of these ideas right back to you. It's a direct challenge to look at your own life, the responsibilities you might be avoiding, the strengths you haven't developed yet. It leaves you with a simple but very difficult question. What part of your own potential, that formidable, creative self, are you failing to confront?